So this is a 25 hauls. This is the first 25 that I uh ever completed. It's the second one I ever attempted. And this is a pug group. No route, no no voice comms, just press and W, as they say. So uh first pull here, pretty big. Uh let's see. Now as a sub rogue, it is a difficult decision whether you want to funnel or whether you want to just black powder. And I've seen different rogues do different things in different key levels, and I think for the most part it depends on what kind of damage profile your group has as a whole. And here I think I probably could have stood to do a little more funneling, uh, but things were dying fairly evenly, even without me funneling. So I don't think it would have made too big of a difference. Uh, Now I will say I'm running stiletto staccato this key. I think for me personally, the decision boils down to, do you have enough 3-minute cooldowns in your group to justify pulling big specifically around those 3 minutes? And if you do, then I would run Symbols of Death. And if you don't, I would run Stiletto Staccato. Uh, but that's just my personal thoughts on climbing this season by myself. Obviously, a lot of other rogues have different opinions, and that's fine. So, we'll skip around here a little bit. These polls are fairly standard and nothing too fancy or crazy. Now, I probably shouldn't have been so liberal with my evasions here, because you can kind of save those and be a little more conservative with them and not, because at the end of the day you're really just padding on the spitefulls when you're standing in there to a degree. You can make the argument that funneling is important off of the spitefulls, but so this pull here isn't anything too special either. It's pretty standard. And I'm pretty sure... So again, I made the decision of black powder here. This probably would have been better served funneling with Eviscerate. I did at least a few, probably more like 5 casts there without a Shadow Dance up. When you're doing AoE, that's probably one of the most important things to keep up. So yeah, and as you can see here, like, the shard had a lot of health. It would have been a lot better just to funnel Eviscerates into him. But, you know, you live and you learn. So, the next pull, we didn't save the little groundskeepers off to the side there for the next pull, so we have something to funnel in. That's pretty common. I've actually seen a lot of people start doing Arcalef and this shard pull with the groundskeepers. It's kind of rough, but if you have the CDs up for it, it's It's a good save. Good time save. So we can jump ahead a little bit here. Just funneling the incinerator. Nothing too special. Prot pallies really commonly will just hold their silence and can solo interrupt the incinerator. It's a really common thing, and it frees up everyone else's interrupts for some of the harder stuff, like when you're doing Arcalef and a Death Speaker in the other side. That's a pretty common one. Okay. I'm a big fan of Champion's Brand here. The other two really don't feel like I get much value out of them, even on tyrannical weeks in halls. So there's not a whole lot that we do here that's special. He bubbles to group all these together, like he just said in chat. We can kind of skip forward a little bit here. So we're doing one more big shard pull. Again, nothing too fancy. Now since we've got a second decurse here, it's actually more important to kick the bolts than it is to kick anything else. And I say that as I'm just not kicking as much as I should be. And definitely, that's kicking proactively instead of reactively is arguably the biggest thing that I need to work on right now. Now, that was pretty quick reflexes on the tank's part. I was not paying attention. I was very panicked this key because I was with a bunch of people that had higher score than me at the end of the day. But yeah. So that's the first of many, the first of my deaths this key. I think it's good to point out that even when you get to higher keys, people still die to dumb stuff. Like I said before, I was pretty anxious going into this key. Doing anything, at this point, doing anything above a 24 was nerve-wracking, to say the least. But, you know, it's just kind of how it goes. So we can skip a little further ahead here. So we do that pull, and now we are... I don't think we're doing anything too fancy here. We do this pull, and then we're just going straight into the boss. The tank is positioning to go pick up one of the gargoyles. And we're picking up another one from the other side. Mage is already on it. So we're doing double gargoyle, and then we're going into the boss. Pretty straightforward. Press W. I do like my opening rotation here. I will throw in the Shuriken Storm, even when it's on single target. I've seen a few rogues do it. I think honestly, if I'm really being honest with myself, it's probably DPS neutral to do it. I don't think it's necessarily a loss. I'd like it to be a gain, but like I said, if we're being honest, it's probably mostly neutral. Yeah, and we're really not doing anything too fancy here. Just bumping, burning. The tank will, in a moment here, go grab, he's gonna go grab the gargoyle. So we have another one going into the last portion of this boss, which I actually didn't notice while we were doing the key. Again, anxious, but we pick it up here, we keep back on the rotation, go right into our flag window. That's that. So we're on to the next boss. We Shroud. Again, nothing fancy, just same old, same old. Oh, now that one, you gotta move pretty quick. I think in hindsight, I should have saved the storm for once these guys were out. It would have been a little easier to funnel. I know now that one of the bigger mistakes that I made on this fight is that I should just always funnel. We have two classes that do pretty decent cleave. And even if my overall suffers for it, which is kind of one of the plights of a sub-rogue in hierarchies, you gotta do what times the key, not what pats the meters. So, hindsight and all that, I'm sure... I think I mess up a couple. We'll see. We'll see. So again, I should be funneling, and I am black powdering. I think yeah. So that was kind of an awkward timing with the flag coming up right before or right after the Shrieking Storm. I think the right move was to. Alright, so again, I panic here, I click the wrong person, and so I immediately pop Health Potion and my Crimson Vial. Ideally, after they decurse you, you just step to somebody to make sure it's positioned correctly before you step. But, you know, you live and you learn. Or in this case, you almost die and you learn. So I think at a certain point in this fight, I do start switching to funneling, but not soon enough. This fight would have been over a lot faster if I'd been funneling the whole time. It's also worth noting that as a rogue, you should be looking, if the ads are all pretty low and are going to die in quick succession, it's a pretty good time to pop Cloak, because when they die, they explode. So it's worth getting some value out of that there. You probably won't need Cloak for the next couple pulls anyways. So it's worth it. And I believe here I'm still not eviscerating. I definitely shouldn't have popped Flag there. That was a very late. And again, it's pretty common to be kind of panicked. At least for me, going into keys that I've never done on that level before. And the only way you get rid of that panicked is to just go do them over and over again. So there, well, actually, rewind real quick. So he pops his fear here. And on my screen, it kind of looks like the names are there, but you can see they're not there. The tank went to line of sight to fear, and I wasn't paying enough attention to keep up with that. So if we had held flag, we still probably would have gotten 2 flags off on this guy, but they would have lined up a lot better with our cooldowns. We would have done substantially more damage. Now, I was definitely feeling the pressure mounting. There's not much left to do from this guy. So I do pick up the Necrotic Dagger power. I'll pretty much always run the Necrotic Dagger power. I think that one's the optimal choice 9 times out of 10. So this is really when I started to panic, right? Tank goes down almost immediately. I'm basically just standing back. The mage goes in, which I should have taken his Q and just gone with it, but I did not. So I should be looking for stops. I should be looking at interrupts on any of the obliterators, stunning Houndmasters during rapid fire, or even during shoot, honestly, and potentially just getting stuns on the Gargans, because those Gargans are going to mess people up. So, I was pretty panicked here. I didn't have any more defensives to use, and so I just kind of ran over here and started doing things. I got the CCs. That was probably the thing that I was most afraid of. I didn't have cloak for this debuff, and it took me out. Now, I could have released, but this hunter was just so on point with the engineering reses. It didn't even matter. So I got the debuff again, dispelled, nice and quick. Again, I should have been looking at stops. And at this point, I'm just panicking and running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But this pull was something else. But surprisingly, even with our blunders, we are still on track time-wise. So we've done the double pull. All we have left now is the third boss, the last room, and the final boss. It's like we're making good time. Now here, in my head, you pull them both together, you stop, sometimes here, sometimes at the top of the stairs, and then you let him tame both. And I didn't understand at the time that he wanted to do one, so I was confused. And when I missed the other one right there, I panicked. But you know, like I said before, you don't get rid of the panic without just kind of leaning into it to a certain degree. So we go into our normal single target rotation, and I'm just trying not to mess up. I ran over here because I thought that's where the can was, but again, panic. So I angrily checked the recap there. Again, the hunter coming in exceedingly clutch. This was a fantastic group, and I am very lucky that I got into it when I did. So, again, I ate another Anima Fountain there. It's one of these things where, like, you know you want to do damage, you're trying to make up for lost damage. But at the end of the day, surviving and just avoiding taking unnecessary damage vastly outweighs that little bit of extra damage that you're gonna squeeze out by sitting in a big AoE or something along those lines. So from here, I think it's pretty standard. I don't make any other huge mistakes that I can remember. I did just realize now, I definitely could have gotten at least one more potion. It's been on cooldown. It's been off cooldown for quite a while. Well, we definitely could have used at least one more throughout the dungeon. And, you know, that might have helped a little bit. But, so we'll skip forward a little bit. Last room, I know there are a few different methods for dealing with this room. I honestly tend to just pick a quadrant and go to town. After I get a couple of them down, I'll start looking to like reposition to maybe pick up a few more targets for AoE. But for the most part, I'll just pick one side and get them all down, because they all have to die eventually, right? At least that's the goal. So I'm over on either side, doing a little bit, and then eventually here I'll start looking to move over and funnel onto the big guy once I think we've got most of the souls low enough that we can kind of pick them off. So I'm looking around here. I see there's a couple that are low but are available, and I make the decision to get onto the big guy and start ramping up on him. Whew. Yep, he just turned the last two. So then here it's, again, real simple. Just funnel into him. We're doing as many eviscerates as we can. So, nothing fancy here. We can eventually move him up towards the entrance. Yeah. But, so this is where things get really interesting. 4 minutes for last boss. Really easy, right? We have plenty of time. There's no battle resist up right now, but we have plenty of time, so it should be easy, right? We'll see. So, we didn't do Saganon, and we didn't do Oros. So these, right. So that's a problem. Right? We have 2 minutes on a battle res, and the tank is just getting trucked because we didn't kill Saganon. And it's Grievous, right? So if we take damage, we're all going to take down. So the first move here is we got the mage going for the ice block. One of them's not touching, so I get it, and then I cloak. So ideally, here in my head, I think, all right, we already popped ice block, we already popped cloak. We don't have anything else for the next one. We're screwed. What I didn't know at the time is, or what I wasn't thinking about at the time, is we could definitely just block again. So in theory, we could have been okay. And I think the big lesson here from the beginning of this fight is that tonal, it's narrow near the boss, but further out, it spreads pretty far. So again, I'm panicking. I type out that we don't have a cloak, but the mage is just already on top of it. He knows what to do. We should be good, right? 30 seconds on a BR. Somehow, against all odds, this tank is just alive. And we're so close. Just trying to do our best, and then the unthinkable happens. So but it's not technically over, right? We're thinking we got lucky with the spell queue here, so he's just going through, casting his spells, and killing mirror images. And somehow, this guy gets another super clutch battle res off, and the tank's up. We've got a minute to do 800,000 damage, give or take. Now, I honestly think if it had been any other tank, it just wouldn't have happened. It had to be a paladin tank. Maybe a blood DK, but I don't think it would have worked. But you know, we're looking pretty good right now. And then that happens. But again, lucky with the spell queues. I get the stigma, I cloak. We're good. So that was my very first timed 25. It was man, it was something else. That was a pretty fun one. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll have a few more keys up later this week.